You come say good morning. Oh, say good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'll wait a couple minutes to let people come in. I had a long night last night. Yesterday, I should say. What are you doing? Are you happy right there? Such a spoiled dog. All right. Thank you, Lily, for letting me know you can hear me and see me. Slow connection over on the Facebook side. Why am I not surprised? It is what it is. What are you doing? He's hugging my arm, laying on me. Yeah. So I think really he is very much a companion dog for me. He doesn't like being anywhere I'm not. So, Huh. Here he is, of course, on my lap. Anyways, it is AA day, so let's go ahead and get into the Serenity Prayer, and then I'll get the meeting going. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. So please be kind in the comments, in the live chats. This is a judgment-free area. Don't harass people. Just because they're in the chat doesn't mean that they're the alcoholic. They might be just supporting my channel or trying to help a family member or loved one with their alcoholism and give them ideas of ways that they can help them. So we are reading the big book, and let me move my mouse again. We are reading Women Suffer Too on page 200. That's in the 4th edition. There is a new edition coming out. I don't know. Can't remember if it was this month or next month that it's going to be out. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm Sandra and I'm an alcoholic. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made the decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. Praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I got tongue-tied. Anyway. Good morning, Tony. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I am live also over on Facebook. So, whichever one you want to watch on. I didn't tag anybody on the Facebook one, so having my third cup of coffee. It's blah. I don't know why I'm drinking coffee because it doesn't taste good. Since they quit smoking, it doesn't taste very good. Thanks, Chantix. Anyways, this is Women Suffer Too. Despite great opportunities, alcohol nearly ended her life. An early member, she spread the word among women in our pioneer period. The dog is killing my leg already. What was I saying? From far away, as if in a delirium, I heard my own voice calling someone, Dorothy, talking of dress shops, of jobs. The words came clearer. This sound of my own voice frightened me as it came closer. And suddenly there I was, talking of I knew what not to do to someone I'd never seen before that very moment. Abruptly, I stopped speaking. Where was I? I'd wake up in strange rooms before, fully dressed, on a bed or a couch. I'd wake up in my own room, in or on my own bed, not knowing what hour or day it was, afraid to ask. But this was different. This time I seemed to be already awake, sitting upright in a big easy chair, in the middle of an animated conversation with a perfectly strange young woman who didn't appear to think I was strange or think it was strange. Young woman who didn't. I already read that part. She was chatting on, pleasantly and comfortably. Terrified, I looked around. I was in a large, dark, rather poorly furnished room, the living room of a basement flat. Cold chills started chasing up and down my spine. My teeth were chattering. My hands were shaking. So I tucked them under me to keep them from flying away. My fright was real enough, but it didn't account for these violent reactions. I knew what they were, all right. A drink would fix them. It must have been a long time since I had my last drink, but I didn't dare ask the stranger for one. I must get out of here. In any case, I must get out of here before I let slip my abysmal ignorance of how I came to be here. And she realized that I was staring mad. I was mad. I must be. The shakes grew worse, and I looked at my watch. 6 o'clock. It had been 1 o'clock when I last remembered looking. I'd been sitting comfortably in a restaurant with Rita, drinking my sixth martini and hoping the waiter would forget about the lunch order, at least long enough for me to have a couple more. I'd only had two with her, but I'd managed four in the 15 minutes I'd waited for her. And of course, I'd had the usual unaccounted swigs from the bottle as I painfully got up and did my slow, spasmodic dressing. In fact, I had been in very good shape at 1 o'clock, feeling no pain. What could have happened that had been in the center of New York on noisy 42nd Street? This was obviously a quiet residential section. Why had Dorothy brought me here? Just lay down, Ryder. I lost my spot. Okay. Who was she? How had I met her? I had no answers, and I dared not ask. She gave no sign of recognizing anything wrong. But what had I been doing for those lost 5 hours? My brain whirled. I might have done terrible things, and I wouldn't even know it. Somehow I got out of there and walked 5 blocks past brownstone houses. There wasn't a bar in sight, but I found the subway station. The name on it was unfamiliar, and I had to ask the way to Grand Central. It took 3/4 of an hour and two changes to get there, back to my starting point. I had been in the remote reaches of Brooklyn. That night I got very drunk, which was usual, but I remembered nothing, or I remembered everything, which was very unusual. I remembered going through what my sister assured me was my nightly procedure of trying to find Willie Seabrook's name in the telephone book. I remembered my loud resolution to find him and ask him to help me get into that asylum he had written about. I remembered asserting that I was going to do something about this, that I couldn't go on. I remembered looking longingly at the window as an easier solution and shuddering at the memory of that other window 3 years before and the 6 agonizing months in a London hospital ward. I remembered filing the peroxide bottle in my medicine chest with gin, in case my sister found the bottle I hid under the mattress. And I remembered the creeping horror of the interminable night in which I slept for short spells and woke dripping with cold sweat and shaking with utter despair to drink hastily from my bottle and mercifully pass out again. You're mad, you're mad, you're mad, pounded through my brain with each returning ray of consciousness, and I drowned the refrain with drink. That went on for 2 more months before I landed in a hospital and started my slow fight back to normalcy. It had been going on like that for over a year. I was 32 years old. When I look back on that last horrible year of constant drinking, I wonder how I survived it, either physically or mentally. For there were, of course, periods of clear realization of what I had become, attended by memories of what I had been, what I had expected to be. And the contrast was pretty shattering. Sitting in the Second Avenue bar, accepting drinks from anyone who offered. After my small stake was gone, or sitting at home alone with the inevitable glass in my hand, I would remembering I would drink faster, seeking speedy oblivion. It was hard to reconcile this ghastly present with the simple fact of the past. My family had money. I had never known denial of any material desire. The best boarding schools and a finishing school in Europe had fitted me for the conventional role of debutante and young matron. The times in which I grew up, Prohibition era immortalized by Scott Fitzgerald and John Held Jr., had taught me to be gay with the gayest, meaning happy. My own inner urges led me to outdo them all. The year after coming out, I'm married. So far, okay, maybe they're actually talking about gay. I don't know. I just tried to be equal on all of it without, my own inner urges led me to outdo them all. The year after coming out, I married. So far, so good. All according to plan, like thousands of others. But then the story became my own. My husband was an alcoholic. I forgot I was talking about a lady. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm exhausted. But then the story became my own. My husband was an alcoholic, and since I had only contempt for those without my own amazing capacity, the outcome was inevitable. My divorce coincided with my father's bankruptcy, and I went to work, casting off all allergies and responsibilities to anyone other than myself. For me, work was only a different means to the same end, to be able to do exactly what I wanted to do. I gotta put him down. My feet are going to sleep. You can go lay down in your bed. It's up on the couch. I forgot my spot again. Y'all do that? It's so annoying to me. I can't find my spot. Okay. For the next 10 years, I did just that. For greater freedom and excitement, I went abroad to live. I had my own business, successful enough for me to indulge most of my desires. I met all the people I wanted to meet. I saw all the places I wanted to see. I did all the things I wanted to do. I was increasingly miserable. Headstrong and willful, I rushed from pleasure to pleasure and found the return diminishing to the vanishing point. Hangovers began to assume monstrous proportions, and the morning drink became an urgent necessity. Blanks were more frequent, and I seldom knew how I'd get home. When my friends suggested that I was drinking too much, they were no longer my friends. I moved back from group to group, then from place to place, and went on drinking with a creeping insidiousness. Drink had become more important than anything else. It no longer gave me pleasure, it merely dulled the pain, but I had to have it. I was bitterly unhappy. No doubt I had been on an exile too long. I should go home to America. I did, and to my surprise, my drinking grew worse. Just a second. And to my surprise, okay, I read that part. When I entered a sanitarium for prolonged and intensive psychiatric treatment, I was convinced that I was having a serious mental breakdown. I wanted help and I tried to cooperate. As the treatment progressed, myself of the temperament that had caused me so much trouble. I've been hypersensitive, shy, idealistic. My inability to accept the harsh realities of life has resulted in a disillusioned, sink clothed in a protective armor against the world's misunderstanding. The armor had turned into prison walls, locking me in loneliness and fear. All I had left was an iron determination to live my own life in spite of the alien world. And here I was, an inwardly frightened, outwardly defiant woman who desperately needed a prop to keep going. Alcohol was that prop, and I didn't see how I could live without it. When my doctor told me I should never touch a drink again, I couldn't afford to believe him. I had to persist in my attempts to get straightened out enough to be able to use the drinks I needed without their turning on me. Besides, how could he understand? He wasn't a drinking man. He didn't know what it was to need a drink, nor what a drink could do for one in a pinch. I wanted to live not in a desert, but in a normal world. And my idea of a normal world was being among people who drank. Teetotalers were not included. That was a tongue twister. And I was sure that I couldn't be with people who drank without drinking, in that I was correct. I couldn't be comfortable with any kind of people without drinking. I never had been. Naturally, in spite of my good intentions, in spite of my protective life behind sanitarium walls, I several times got drunk and was astounded and badly shaken. That was the point at which my doctor gave me the book Alcoholics Anonymous to read. That was the point, when Alcoholics Anonymous to read. That first chapter were a revelation to me. I wasn't the only person in the world who felt and behaved like this. I wasn't mad or vicious. I was a sick person. I was suffering from an actual disease that had a name and symptoms like diabetes or cancer or TB. And the disease was respectable, not a normal stigma, or not a moral stigma, sorry. But then I hit a snag. I couldn't stomach religion, and I didn't like the mention of God or any of the other capital letters. If that was the way of it, it wasn't for me. I was an intellectual and I needed. Sorry, I skipped some. I was an intellectual and I needed an intellectual answer, not an emotional one. I told my doctors so in no uncertain terms, I wanted to learn to stand on my own feet, not to change one prop for another, and an intangible and dubious one at that, and so on and on. For several weeks, while I grudgingly plowed through some more of the up-ending book and felt more and more hopeless about myself. Then the miracle happened to me. It wasn't always so sudden with everyone, but I ran into a personal crisis that filled me with a raging and righteous anger. And as I fumed helplessly, I planned to get good and drunk and show them. My eye caught a sentence in a book lying open on my bed. No. What did it do? It cut me off. I'm about done doing lives on Facebook. They cut me off. Go lay down, dude. Of the offending book and felt more and more hopeless about myself. Then a miracle happened to me. It wasn't always so sudden with everyone, but I ran into a personal crisis that filled me with a raging and righteous anger. Ouch! And as I fumed helplessly and planned to get good and drunk and show them, my eye caught a sentence in the book lying open on my bed. We cannot live with anger. The walls crumpled, and the light streamed in. I wasn't trapped. I wasn't helpless. I was free, and I didn't have to drink to show them. This wasn't religion. This was freedom. Freedom from anger and fear. Freedom to know happiness and freedom to know love. I went to a meeting to see for myself this group of freaks or bums who had done this thing. To go into a gathering of people with the sort of thing that all my life, from the time I left my private world of books and dreams to meet the real world of people and parties and jobs, had left me feeling an uncomfortable outsider, needing the warming stimulus of drinks to join in. I went trembling into a house in Brooklyn filled with strangers. I found I had come home at last to my own kind. There is another meaning for the Hebrew word that in the King James Version of the Bible is translated salvation. It is to come home. I had found my salvation. I wasn't alone anymore. That was the beginning of my new life, a fuller life, a happier life than I had ever known or believed possible. I had found friends, understanding friends who I've got you, dude. I'm not going to drop you. Who often knew what I was thinking and feeling better than I knew myself. And who didn't allow me to retreat into my prison of loneliness and fear over a fancied slight or hurt. Talking things over with them, great floods of enlightenment showed me myself as I really was, and I was like them. We all had hundreds of character traits, fears, and phobias, likes and dislikes in common. Suddenly, I could accept myself, faults and all, as I was, for weren't we all like that? And accepting, I felt a new inner comfort and the willingness and strength to do something about the traits I couldn't live with. It didn't stop there. They knew what to do about those black abysses and that yawned, ready to swallow me when I felt depressed or nervous. There was a concrete program designed to secure the greatest possible inner security for us long-time escapists. The feeling of impending disaster that had haunted me for years had begun to dissolve. As I put into practice more and more of the 12 steps, it worked. An active member of AA since 1939, I feel myself a useful member of the human race at last. I have something to contribute to humanity. Since I am peculiar qualified as a fellow sufferer to give aid and comfort to those who have stumbled and fallen over this business of meeting life, I get my greatest thrill of accomplishment from the knowledge that I have played a part in the new happiness achieved by countless others like myself. The fact that I can work again and earn my living is important by secondary. I believe that my once overwhelmingly self-will has finally found its proper place. For I can say many times daily, thy will be done, not mine. And I mean it. And if I remember correctly, that was the exact area of the book that I got the holy crap. I was sober before I got AA, but I didn't understand that I would probably set myself up to go back out and drink again. I had already done that once. And so I already knew that when they told me that it was true. I didn't have to guess. I didn't have to ask. I knew because I had done it. And for me, knowing that I am using my program every day and I'm helping other people, regardless if I see them or not, I have friends on here that reach out to me and thank me for doing these meetings because it helped them help a family member or a friend to know what to say that could help them. And we get that from going to the meetings and finally getting the aha and knowing what we needed to do. Now, like I said, I'll repeat it and repeat it and repeat it over and over again. This is not my first big book. And it probably will not be my last. Because I have given these books to other people. Just so that way they can have it. When they're ready, they can open the book and they can read it. Eventually, my praying is that they will get the gift that I got out of the meetings and seek the help of others who understand how hard it is to go through those withdrawals, to go through all of those scary parts of your drinking career. And I remember most of mine. I wasn't a nice person in the ending of my alcoholism drinking days. I still have those bad character traits. They don't just disappear. But most of the time when I realize that I screwed up in that spot, like an argument with a friend or family member or something else, I have to remember that it's not good for me to stay in that situation because it can push me to, like I do, a lot of take myself out of the equation of things. And then I have to apologize for my part. And AA taught me how to do that. My parents, I love my parents. They completely understand that, you know, I got into an argument with my dad. Stupid crap, you know. And I was there to take my mom to an appointment. My dad and I got mad at each other, and I said, I'm leaving. I am going home. And as I was going home, I told my mom and I apologized right off. Because it was not her. She had no part in that. And I apologized to my dad. That's what this program has taught me to do. In those situations that I see my part, I didn't get any sleep last night. I spent the night crying. Life on life's terms, right? That's all we get. You're gonna fall on the floor because you don't stay still. Silly dog. But yes, so we have to live life on life's terms, and as I tell everybody, it works. And I don't just say it because I haven't done it. It works because I'm living it now, huh? This is what I get from this guy. He's like, well, we slept on the couch last night, didn't we, Ryder? Yeah. We slept on the couch. Couldn't get comfortable in bed, huh? He thinks he needs to be held all the time. Huh. Yo, I don't know if you believe in ghosts, but this dog will stare at the wall in my room. I have Chub and Copper right here, so I wonder if he can see them. If they're still here protecting Mama. I took a bath the other day and little Mr. Ryder is standing in the bathroom door. I'm like, dog, somebody comes in here, you're not going to protect me very well. But I have protection here if I need it, huh? Yes. But anyways, AA has so many things in these books that everybody relates to. The meetings, you can feel free to talk openly about. Dude, I had friends go in there and say that they've done stupid crap and they feel safe saying it. And I have too. But anyways, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Long 2 days. Next weekend is the last freaking weekend of 11-hour days. Thank goodness. Even just that extra hour is just like, ugh. Because it takes me a half an hour, 45 minutes to get to work and home from work. So But yeah, he's a good boy. It's okay. Something just moved. I don't know what it was. What was it, Ryder? I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And just know if you're struggling, you're not alone. If you need help, reach out to somebody, a family member, a friend, a meeting, a stranger. That's how I have managed to stay sober for 11 years. I'm not shy about saying I'm a recovering alcoholic, because that's what I am, and it doesn't go away. And I have to always remember that it doesn't go away, and you can't take that one drink, because you take that one drink and you're gonna regret it, because then you gotta start all over again, and your drinking career doesn't start from where you started it the first or the second or however many times. So there's help everywhere. Google, not sponsored by Google or anything, but Google AA meetings. They're absolutely everywhere. And even if you don't understand the language, you will understand basically the book and stuff. And so please reach out. There's help everywhere. Let's say the Serenity Prayer and wrap up this meeting. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.